they are farmers, they are carpenters, they are construction workers. But with AI, we help them to make the right loan decision. We also support the loan officer with our AI solution because there's social pressure also on the other side. Uncle, you are in the village bank committee. I need some money. Please lend me some. And then the uncle is pressured, like he doesn't know how to answer. Now he has our AI solution, which says your credit score is not good enough. 2 years ago, you had a loan and you did not pay back. You have to increase your income now to be able to pay back, or you need to reduce the loan size that you are requesting that you are able to pay back. This is all decision help for the loan officer to make the right decision about the loan.
Hello, Tim. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. And I loved we connected because you're based in Laos. Laos is one of my favorite places in all of Southeast Asia. So I was like, oh my God, instant connection. So really looking forward to this chat. So basically, this podcast is all about how we can build more purpose-driven fintechs. So what is your take?
Yeah, of course, it's a noble ambition to run a fintech that has also a lot of meaning, that can reduce poverty and so on. I think how we can build and run such an enterprise is we need to get the business model right. There's a lot of people that talk about technology and so on. That actually is also important, but the core of the matter is the right business model. So we had the privilege, like last year, we were in another accelerator from Seedstars, and they helped us to challenge only by questioning how we do things to do things more efficient. And if we really want to have an increased or deepened impact on our mission, then the business model, I would say, is the one to start with. And then, of course, everything trickles down afterwards.
I love that. And I think it's the first time that someone starts with commercials. But it's so true. No, but it's true because at the end of the day, like, we are financial institutions. We are not NGOs.
Even the project from LTS Ventures, we inherited from GIZ. So they run 10 years in Laos village banking, and they invested $15 million to build up the infrastructure. And then at that point where the project was about to end, they were like having this big question, like, how can we make this, what we created, sustainable? And we were there at the right spot at the right time. And then they handed over the project to us and we keep it running. So it's exactly that spot where we made also the shift in the project from a donor organization or from, say, non-profit to a profitable social enterprise. So we are also not in for all the profit, but for sure we are like there for making a business that at the end of the month has a good black zero.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit more about your purpose, LTS purpose?
LTS Ventures, we started like in connection to the GIZ project. And we are building and running right now the largest village bank network in Southeast Asia. Our mission is FinTech, using FinTech or financial innovations to push financial inclusion. So we have implemented on our platform an AI mechanism, blockchain protocol on the database end. So their database is synchronizing so that people cannot commit fraud. And then at the same time, we are now in the process of bringing this digital platform that we created to other countries, to Cambodia and to Indonesia, to other countries probably also. But these are our two main focus right now.
Awesome. And what made you believe, especially like your story is fascinating that it was like originally an NGO and then you moved to a for-profit. What was your hypothesis? What made you believe that you could win?
Honestly, in the beginning, we didn't know. Just
I love that answer. Yeah, no, we did it.
Yes. I come from a very small village in Germany. I grew up in a village that had only 7 people. There was zero infrastructure and there were no people. And my father was forester, already the 7th generation in the family. So I should have become a forester, but then I switched to banking because I thought like money systems, they are incredibly powerful. And all those people in the rural areas, they do not have this financial access. So I wanted to learn about this. What makes a bank really working? And my first job was in a small cooperative bank in Germany. And I could see the huge impact, positive impact this bank had on the population. And this I carried around with me all my career until I came to Laos. And finally, we won this project. First, it was like a grant to build a digital platform. So LTS Ventures was from the beginning like a for-profit company. At the same time, we inherited this NGO project. And we are now in a process of changing the business model, like I said. And I think this experience also that we can change things for the better. This makes it a lot, this gives confidence to that we can run the project also in the future.
Yes. And I want to build on that because you are, so most of us working in the industry, most of us work and live in the big cities, right? Developed countries. You grew up in a very small village and yes, and your business is all about helping other villages as well. And I think that's where even though financial inclusion is very relevant also in the cities, I think in the villages, it's like even more needed because then we need to give accessibility and everything. So I think even though we've had a ton of progress in the past 10 years as an industry, I don't think we've had enough. And I think the problem statement keeps getting bigger. People have a ton of financial stress. So what's your take on how we can have 10 times more impact in the next 5 years instead of 20 years?
I think your assumption is true. And especially what we see, we had just the in Laos OECD report on the country. A lot of figures that official reports use. They are looking at the poverty rates from 2019, 2020. And the last figures are just coming in. And the last figures are those like 22, 23 that have the impact of COVID inside.
Yeah.
COVID increased the poverty, especially in rural communities more. Plus, then on top, we have then the after COVID phase, where we see an increased inflation in all emerging countries, which adds to the problem because in the rural areas, they do not have the means to create more value, to negotiate for more salary. They are selling the chicken, or they are selling the buffalo, or the rice. And those farmers, they need to be well connected to the bigger cities, to the value chains, to know about the price changes. And that is not really transparent. So they are lagging a little bit behind, but they are catching up. So coming back to your question, like how we can have a 10 times bigger impact, is for us as LTS, we standardize a lot. Because then we cannot create value only for one village, but for right now we have 900 villages, 924 village banks we take care of. And we have a standardized process. Our village bank meeting functions in all villages the same way. And we use technology additionally to scale it then. So right now we are already profitable. Operationally, we have 50% of our revenue streams come from development projects, what we do for UN and so on, and 50% is on our platform. But if we can scale this platform to other countries, this will be where the key is for LTS. I think I can answer this foremost only for LTS. I think as an industry, I see also a lot of connectivity increasing. Cross-border payments, CBDCs, central banks, digital currencies come in place. So it's more connecting. But we are still not there, of course, that this connectivity reaches the last village.
Yes, that's a very good perspective because also you use the word standardization. Even if you talk about, hey, cross-border payments, CBDCs, it's at the end of the day, like there needs to be standards because then you have like different countries talking to each other. It's a very interesting approach. I like that. It's really important. Yeah.
In ASEAN, we are still growing together as one united country bloc. I think the European Union, if they launch an initiative with international transfers, day plus one, everyone has to implement it. Basel, I don't know how far we are already in Europe. But here in Laos, for instance, we are still struggling with Basel 2 and 3 as a banking standard to implement. So we are way behind. And this standardization is a way to make sure that the growth can happen exponentially in the end.
Oh, and that's a very good point. So let's assume we standardize and then we have that exponential growth. How can we measure that growth? How can we measure the real impact?
That's also a very good question, because we are working right now on our impact reporting.
Cool.
So there's this theory of change framework, right? That's where you define your activities and then the outputs you want to create up to the point where you have defined the real impact. And actually this helped us. I mentioned before the Seed Start Accelerator. This helped us, this theory of change framework, to change our business model, because we learned to measure what we really want to impact. And one of the mentors said, okay, you want to help the number of people in the villages to be financially included. So measure that over 3 months. And we did, and we found out, okay, there was a lot of activities we've done before that were not really contributing to that point. So we cut out, we simplified, we focused, and this focus gives more energy also on the spot where we do activities, and has a really much bigger perception also in the community.
And I think that's a huge lesson for everyone, because then we're saying, hey, the moment that we're measuring the right thing and we use that as what some people call the North Star metric, then you're like, oh, these other initiatives that we've been working a ton on, they don't contribute towards these. So let's refocus our efforts into hitting that objective as such.
Just correct. The diversion. And I can understand, like every startup and also LTS in the beginning, we had not the privilege of choosing our projects. So any project that came, we were like, okay, we do it. Because you need to make sure you're surviving the first 2 years. And now LTS just had the 5-year anniversary. So we are now, thank you, on a much better position where we know what we can do, we know what we want to do, and we are having meaningful discussions with stakeholders, with partners, to work on things that really help the people.
I love that. And what have been your lessons when it comes to profitability? There's many fintechs who started when the game that we were playing was a growth game rather than a profitability game. And now it's like everyone is looking at profitability. So what has worked for you that you're like, hey, if you're in this situation, these are the key things that I learned?
We, LTS, we were never an NGO before. We were always like a for-profit company. But inheriting this NGO project from GSZ, this was a challenge. At the same time, GLZ also knew at that time that they have to build the project in a way that's sustainable, that it is the different actors in the project, be it like village banks, microfinance institutions, everyone need to have a cut of the cake. And this is set up correctly. If we create like a win situation, that it can work. For us, LTS, when we started, it was like we did a lot of different things. We focused. I think this focus activity is sometimes painful, but at the same time also it helps. And in the long run, we also we looked at the pure growth. Me coming from the banking side, I was always like more stronger on, hey, this need to be profitable. What we never did so far was like a pure like project calculation. We also sometimes we did projects where we saw, okay, we are earning, but we are not earning so much, but it is strategically important for us to have this project. So we work for communities that later become village banks. And we invested first our time and effort to understand those communities first. And then later we were able to have a meaningful discussion with the communities. And then we discuss with the members how to create a village bank.
That makes a lot of sense because basically you understood them and then co-created.
Exactly. And also they created. So it was not purely our creation, it was joint creation.
Yes,
So we had the village bank, actually, it's a community bank. It's the bank of the people. And they, in the end, gain profit. So our business model is we get a percentage on the profits or on the revenue they are gaining throughout the year. But in the end, the profit is redistributed to the members of the village bank.
Who are the members?
These are the villagers.
The villagers. Yes, that's what I assumed. But I'm like, just to clarify. Yeah, so it's like the villagers are the owners of the bank, basically. And if the bank does well, then they do.
There's a super cool movie, if one has some time. It's called The Bank of Dave.
Okay.
It's a real movie, I don't know, some years ago. And it's a true story about someone in Great Britain who started a bank for the people. And he started to give loans for the community because he knew the people in the community. And then he wanted to get a banking license. And then the challenges started. And the regulator was like, what? We didn't give someone a bank license for 150 years. And I don't want to talk about the end of the movie. At the same time, this is what we are doing, basically. We are helping communities to start their own bank and to run the bank. Often those people, they are not really educated. They are farmers. They are carpenters. They are construction workers. But with our help and with the solution, we help them to make the right loan decision, for instance, or have the right VUL reporting, the central bank report.
Yeah. What are the biggest pain points that they have?
Of course, the bank can only grow as much as they raise capital. To raise capital in the rural areas is sometimes not easy. In Laos, it's working also because we have a saving culture. The people love to save, but they need an instrument for that. They need to have an account where they put their money into. But if they are left alone, they just spend the money. So when we come with a village bank concept and the village authorities discuss it with all the people, they're very happy to have some institution in their village where they can put the money. And then out of this fundraising, we give them loans. We have the what should I say? We have the benefit if NGOs or donor organizations give some extra money to raise the capital more in the village bank, then we can give out more loans. Then the bank can function and can be sustainable more quick. Right now, it takes us 6 months to raise enough money per bank.
Yeah.
That is one of the pain points. If this process of capital raising, and also it comes with a trust in the village, among the villagers. If they don't trust each other, it's not working. The village bank will close down in 3 months again. But luckily, so far, we never had this.
What do you think has been the secret to the trust then?
One element is also the role of LTS, because we come in as a neutral advisor to the village bank. So we never touch the money. It's their money, and the village bank organizes their money, but we help them to manage their money. And we come with a digital platform. So we have written records in the village bank books, plus we have the digital platform, and both together, they are then auditable. We have organized also audits. They are done by the district office. So the district office come to the village every 3 months, and then they looking at the books, looking at our IT system and say, yeah, it's matching. Perfect. Or we find also mistakes, sometimes like honest mistakes. The people didn't want to make the mistake, but like their education is not so good. And then they write like a 6 that looks like
8.
a 8, or the other way around.
8 instead of 0.
Yeah.
It seems like we can learn so much about this. So I would love to understand, what is the relationship between the villagers and the bank? Or let me put that in other words. What is the perception or emotional connection from the villagers to the bank, to the community bank?
Yeah, one example is the villagers, they got funds from a mother and early childhood grant. This was done by mobile money, but it didn't really work because the villagers, they changed their SIM card with every promotion. So they couldn't send the money really through to the phone. And then they had no place to cash out also in the rural areas. So they did cash disbursement. And the one lady who received the cash disbursement, she luckily said on an official record, now she will put that money into the bank account and the village bank accounts, because that means her future. She was pregnant, like in the 6 months something. So you could see she was very happy to receive the money. At the same time, she said, this money I will put in the bank account because later we can use it to sustain the baby and we can help the baby with their education. Right now, we have the big problem in Laos that a lot of children, they drop out of school because they have to help on the fields, because the poverty raises so much. And we are trying also with child accounts to work against this. So when the parents start saving for the children, they have enough money to sustain their education.
I think that's key because, exactly, again, us people from the cities, we don't relate to that on an immediate basis. So I think it's important to step back a little bit. For all of us who don't live in Laos or only been there for a few days on holiday, can you paint a picture to us on how is Laos and why village banking is important?
Absolutely. So Laos is a very fascinating country, like you said. It's most people, they just visit Vientiane, Luang Prabang, and it's. But if you drive 1 hour outside those cities, suddenly your road stops and you are on a dirt road. And then this dirt road goes up on a mountain, on a very bad pathway. So in rainy season, we can only reach 30% of our villages because the rain and everything is so harsh that the roads are impossible to pass. We can then, of course, if the heavy rain stops, we go 1 week later, we can reach them in the same month. But it's at that point of time, when there's heavy rain, it's nearly impossible. And the roads are very muddy. And slippery, super slippery. I was on a 4-wheel drive in the rainy season up on the mountain, and we struggled. That is really very rough infrastructure there. Then you come to the village. One village maybe has 2 shops, 2 food shops, or a small market shop that sell vegetables. And the beautiful thing is, like, everything grows there. So
Yes.
often these communities, they are self-sustaining. One person grows chickens, another one takes care of buffaloes, another one puts rice on the field. So this is the beauty, and at the same time, it's also a risk. If now, for instance, the rice fields are flooded away through a flash flood, which we have more often now because of climate change, then the whole village does not have any food anymore. Because of this bad infrastructure, the situation with hospitals is very crucial. So we have often situations where someone gets sick in the village, and because of the rainy season, they cannot transport him to the next hospital. And then this person is exposed there in the village. And some people might die because they cannot get the medical help. So life is, on the one side, super beautiful. If we go to these villages and we see this untouched nature and this people who really play outside, the children play outside, football and everything, we say, wow, this is great. At the same time, in harsh situations, it's really difficult to survive.
That's very tough. And that's why financial inclusion is important. I think it's about 2 billion people. I'll correct my facts, but from memory, it's 2 billion people still who need to be included in the system. But that is like a very harsh situation, right? That it's like because of the rain, and I can hear the rain now, like in your background. It wasn't
Yes.
there 10 minutes ago. It's like heavy rain, Southeast Asia style. But it's because of the rain. I cannot go to the hospital. That's intense.
And Laos is very stretched, like we are on 1,700 kilometers and almost no proper road infrastructure. So I cannot just hop on my motorbike and go to the next hospital. It's not there. I need to drive at least 4 hours to the next hospital. So and these are often in the province cities, not available on districts even.
Yes. How? I don't want to use the word fix, but it's like, how do we enhance the quality of life in those situations? Because, well, it's a chicken and egg, right? You can say they have amazing quality of life because we don't have that. But at the same time, like access, how do we improve access to basic services?
What we found out through questionnaires, when we asked the people, also, what do you really need? How do you think about the village bank? And they always come back to one point. They say, money is great because we can exchange it to services or to goods that we need in that moment. In the real world, in the developed world, we have forgotten about this because everything is so natural there. It's like, I have my mobile wallet and I can transfer this money to another mobile wallet. I can use my bank account to top up my wallet. Everything is integrated in a payment mechanism. But in the village, everything is still cash. If cash is there. And this is the point. If a family has cash, we increase the financial resilience of that family, that household. Then they suddenly can do something. If they do not have this access to finance, access to cash, they also can just pay someone to bring grandma to the next hospital.
Yes, 100%. Then the key question is if cash, not cash, but like money is so important, how do we solve the problem such that they can have more money? It's not hey, you need a money management solution here. It's you need more money.
It's also about behavior. You're absolutely right. It's about like, how do I keep some of the money in my saving bank account and do not spend it? And this goes along with training, with financial literacy training, where we start the village bank, but our actual work is like we change the behavior of the people. And also we have the policy, someone only get the loan if they have saved before. So they learn to hold money back for a certain time, and then they can get the loan.
I like that.
Another policy is that it changes the behavior. And another policy is we have emergency loans for people who get in difficult situations because of sickness, because of climate change. And for those, we have special loans at a very low interest rate so that they can have access to those funds to overcome this difficult situation. Because if we look at it, like we have a normal life of someone and suddenly there's like a event happening that is a problem for this person. And then he needs to lend money from a loan shark or from someone with a very high interest. And it's not regulated. There's no loan contract. He's exposed to pressure from this person to pay back, often to horrendous interest rates. And then he loses land. He loses probably any assets he has built over the years. But with a village bank, we can give him more stability and those families more stability. They can go through this period of difficulty, but they still are able to maintain their normal lives.
Oh, that's amazing. How do you know that it's an emergency?
Oh, the villagers know. Where you do not know your neighbor actually, but in the village. Really, the village. They know everyone. They are that's part of the secret, actually. They are the secret credit bureau of the village bank. Because they know exactly, this is Mr. Keo. He's very diligent. He always delivers on time. And this is the other person who probably sometimes is not so good with money, and we have to monitor what he spent or give him a smaller loan to show him or to help him to really make a successful project. They know this. This is, we from far away, we don't know this. At the same time, we also support the loan officer with our AI solution because there's social pressure also on the other side. Uncle, you are in the village bank committee. I need some money. Please lend me some. And then the uncle is pressured, like he doesn't know how to answer. Now here's our AI solution, which says your credit score is not good enough. 2 years ago, you had a loan and you did not pay back. You have to increase your income now to be able to pay back, or you need to reduce the loan size that you want, requesting that you are able to pay back. This is all decision help for the loan officer to make the right decision about the loan.
I like that because basically it's a beautiful combination of the people know the people because they know the villagers. And at the same time, you bring the infrastructure to make it like you said, a trustable system, standardized so that everyone can have access to it.
Yeah.
I see that working because believe it or not, my very first job in Mexico, it was in a development bank. And then basically the development bank, we had our branches, but it was also a network of community bank branches across the city where the big banks were not around. So it was a lot of that style of small villages, small banking institution where everybody knew everyone.
Right.
Yeah, I think we can go back to, we could go and learn a lot from this model.
Yes, the personal touches there is right now in bigger cities we try, or in urban environments we try to have this personal touch via closeness from the phone or mobile apps. But it's different. It's like when we go to the Village Bank committee, there's greeting, hugging, there's people are happy to see each other. And then, of course, we have a coffee together and a glass of cold water in our season. And this relationship is very beautiful.
Yes, it is. And it has that essence of the beautiful thing about Laos. But I don't know exactly what it is. It's the nature, but it's like that people, that warmth of people. And it seems like you keep that within the bank. That's very unique.
I think it's the culture, like you say, they are always a community. Lao people, they are very close to each other. And it's not only one time we get invited from the Village Bank committee to have lunch together. And even the villages that almost have nothing, they sacrifice their one chicken they have and they make chicken soup and they invite everyone. It's really beautiful to see that in the people. They cherish the relationship. And this is very beautiful.
Yes, it is. And now I want to go back to weather. Now I can hear the rain. It's even louder. So
Yes.
basically, climate change is an issue, right? And it's an issue that affects people because, like you said, it's like with this rain, then you cannot leave the village. Like everything just becomes mud. How are you incorporating climate change information into your decisioning?
We had a project with SAO and World Food Program to first of all analyze like how quick our system could work to bring money to the people in need. So there's a flooding or there's a drought. These are the two big things we have to fight with. Drought is not so much a problem because we still can drive on the dry road. At the same time, the problem is like how do we transport water, essential foods to the people? And how do they pay then for it? But this is more organizable. A drought has a reaction time need from about 1 or 2 weeks. So we can plan even for that. We can issue like and help the community. Flooding is different. Flooding comes within 1 or 2 days and comes sometimes quick within hours. Our village banks, they keep some of the money locally in the village. So they have also a commercial bank account where every excess money they transfer to the bank account or they bring actually to the bank account. But this money that stays in the village, that is the first resort people can come to if there is a flooding. And then from this money, that helps them over the first 48 hours, which are so crucial to organize something, to pay someone to do something. But of course, we cannot prevent the flooding itself. We can build sensors, we can help to have the infrastructure, the better one. But now, even last week, we had one of our social enterprises connected, one of the social microfinance was flooded within 2 hours. Because of heavy rainfall, the Mekong River levels was very high, and 10 of the villages were impacted where we have village banks. So totally underwater. The whole village 3 meters underwater. Never happened before. Only happened now because suddenly the rain comes and the Mekong River prevents that the small river flows into the Mekong and the water goes back into the village.
Wow.
And the village lies into a deep valley of mountains and just fills up with water. So we are organizing right now also donations for the COP district in middle Laos to help them again to build the infrastructure. They had one server there. Was totally flooded. Some people lost their homes, clothing, everything. So we are right now having a campaign, and feel free to visit our Facebook page. We are launching next Monday donation account for people who want to help this district. But again, the village banking is the first resort that helps people to come over in this first 48 hours. But of course, then the after cleanup works and so on, that is also important, that the village has enough strength to overcome the flooding damages.
Wow. I think the work that you're doing is much more than just a fintech.
We try
Or a
to do what we
fintech.
can.
Yeah, it's much more than just a community bank. It's much more than just a bank. It is an actual community bank and everything that comes with community. I
Yes.
absolutely loved it. Yeah, you're doing an amazing job there. And it's, yeah, and they do have a tough time, especially with the rain.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. It's not only us here at LTS, it's I think the network and everyone wants to contribute to this digital village bank network that makes it work. There's another beautiful movie about a hotelier, and he in the conversation he says, our hotel is an institution. It's not only a house where people come to and sleep. And this is what I try to recreate with the village bank. The village bank is an institution. People come there, share business ideas and knowledge. The rice farmers come and say, oh, I changed my rice farming method to less water, more water in the third week, and so on. And they exchange this information because they have this place where they can come together as a village bank. Even in a village, you should not believe that sometimes people start to live their own lives and are not really well connected anymore. Maybe it's because of the income. Yes.
They are in the app.
mobile device.
It's working. Okay.
We create this institution of exchange, we had one project, sorry, I forgot to finish that. We actually used some of the information FAO prepared about smart climate activities, and we distributed that information to the farmers. So that was also sponsored by the Australian government. They gave us a small grant for that. And we could do trainings for the farmers so that they can utilize this information that was built from FAO.
Cool. So I think we could go on, but conscious of time. My very last question is probably one of my favorite questions that I ask absolutely everyone. That is, if you were to change one thing, but only one thing, that could have the most impact on customers, staff, and shareholders, what could that be?
We were shy in the beginning to be strong towards the project, strong towards the stakeholders. And we were like, okay, let's see how everything is developing. If I could change one thing, I would speak loud more earlier. Because we saw nowadays, like we had a lot of critics also on the way, like village banking is not working. And then we found out actually village banking is working in 90 countries in the world, but no one has a digital system. So we even have a digital system. Why should it not work? And then we had a lot of discussions. Nowadays, LTS is the only organization who full-heartedly supports digital village banking in Laos. So that gives us like, where are the others? Like everyone talked about it before and then left. So if I would have known that 5 years ago, I would have talked totally different to everyone and made everyone either more commit or change, make it more long-term, the solution or the discussions, the contracts we had. Yeah, this one thing I would change.
Thank you, Tim. It's been an absolute pleasure having you in the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao, everyone. See you next week.